My name is Stephanie Boozer. I'm with CUGC HQ, and I'm happy to welcome you to today's Connect webinar with Tricerat. I'm sure you're here because printing becomes an issue at times, and you want to see how you can fix that up so it's not an issue. And I think we're going to learn a lot about that today. But before we get started, I just have a couple housekeeping details for you. Our next two XLs are coming up. If you missed the Great Lakes XL in Chicago, it was fantastic. But our next in-person event is in New York City on June 21st. I almost said the wrong day, June 21st. Everyone is welcome to attend. You don't have to live in the area, but if you are willing to travel, we'd definitely love to have you. Our Excel events are always free and they are day long, lots of great content, lots of great Citrix speakers. So hopefully you can make one of those. The second one is July 13th. It's virtual. That one's a little bit easier for everyone to attend. I'll put a link in the chat in just a bit so you can find those events on our calendar and get the information on the agenda, the speakers, and hopefully register. All right, we also have been seeing a lot of growth in our Slack channel, and we'd love to invite you, if you haven't already joined, you can scan this QR code, and by default, you'll be put into our general channels. There's some topic-based discussions in there, but we also have private local group channels, and you'll see some instructions for how to get added to your local group. So definitely check that out, and then you can have Slack conversations with your local group members. All right, we are recording today's session. You're going to get a link to this recording tomorrow. You're going to get it via email from me, so be on the lookout for that. Also, we'd love to have you put your questions in the Q&A panel as you have them. Just type those in anytime. We're going to keep a close eye on those today and get to as many as we can. And also the chat's there for you to have your general chit chat. Just like I said, let us know where you're from and say hello to each other. All righty, so with us today, we have Andrew Parlette. He's the CTO of Tricerat. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, thank you.
And we also have Arno Payne. He's a CTP. He's the Tampa CUGC leader, and he's going to keep an eye on all those questions that you put in and help facilitate that discussion. So thank you, Arno, for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to hand things directly over to you to get us started, and I'll be here if you need me.
All right, great. Can you see my screen okay? The title card?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you again, Stephanie and CUGC and Arnaud for moderating this. And of course, I'll reiterate that if you have any questions during the conversation here today about some of the slides, or we'll get into a few demos as well. So please make sure to put that into that Q&A panel, and we'll kind of extend that conversation in ways that you'd like to see it go. And Stephanie, do we have that the
poll
poll up? Yeah.
Yeah, let me get that running for you.
So Stephanie's going to start this poll if you wouldn't mind chiming in with the challenges that you might be facing right now within your EUC or computing environment, whether that's something on-prem or in the cloud or hybrid. And certainly as we get into the discussion here today, looking at modern print management in these kind of environments, certainly, whether you're talking native Windows desktops or other OSs, on-prem delivery through Citrix or other delivery mechanisms, cloud, and everything in between, there are built-in ways to achieve some of that, but we're going to look at ways that with a modern advanced solution, you can really achieve much more intelligent delivery of these kind of print services out to really enhance the service you're providing out to your end users, and also really improve the efficiency of administrating those environments, just to really make sure that the admin time and your IT staff is really working on, the core pieces and the strategic initiatives that are important, and not taking so much time on, mundane print assignments or handling support calls from users about what printers are where and that sort of thing. And so we'll really take a look at those ways that this kind of a modern approach can help achieve much better results in both efficiency and productivity, which also ultimately deliver better price savings as well. So again, the poll is up there if you wouldn't mind chiming in with your answers. I would like to give a brief introduction to Tricerat. Some of you may have heard of us before. We've been around for over 25 years now, so quite a while working as a solution provider in this kind of like EUC environment. And we've really been, over that period of time, really focused on empowering admins to really achieve better business outcomes and empowering users in these kind of systems to do their job. There's always, access to apps and data, but certainly things around that accessibility and then the output of that, both input and output for scanning and printing, make a huge difference in that experience and really making that a painless situation. And we all know over all that 25 years and still today, there's a lot of pain involved in that printing process where sometimes you don't expect it, but it's certainly there. Tricerat provides really simple, secure, and scalable print management software. And so those three tenets are really things that drive these solutions that we'll be demonstrating here today and really optimizing for that. We were born out of those early Citrix versions and in the NT Terminal Server Edition and the early WinFrame and MetaFrame and the challenges there. So from that time on, we've really been focused on specifically solutions in these kind of remote desktop environments and the surrounding areas, physical desktops, laptops, mobile, all those type of cases. But at the core, you'll see here in a minute with our virtual driver, we write everything with that multi-user remote desktop system in mind to really make sure that that's optimized and as effective as possible, and really to print from any device to any printer. This is really the idea of virtualization, making it simple and to any location, both where you are as a user and also where that app and data is coming from, be it from a data center, locally, in the cloud, private cloud, public clouds, all those situations. We really pride ourselves on the technical support we offer in the full process, from that initial consultation of really understanding the challenges that you're facing in your environment and how we can layer into that environment and solve the pain points that you have, all the way to post-sales technical support. And we routinely get NPS scores around 80, where really we see that feedback from our customer base of the attentiveness, because we are focused on this type of solution. The larger platforms, this is just kind of a piece and kind of the least common denominator, versus our engineering teams that are focused on these issues. And so looking at a solution like Tricerat, you're really taking advantage of the years of engineering effort put into this, and in an ongoing basis, as things continue to change in the environment, our mission is really to adapt and put those solutions in place in a very timely and effective way. So you're really getting all of those 25 years of experience and engineering expertise along with our product. So let's talk about this a little bit. So Tricerat Screwdrivers is the product. And so Screwdrivers is a suite of technologies. And at the core, I mentioned here a couple of times already, that virtual driver. And what we call the Screwdrivers Essential product really is that virtual driver that started over 20 years ago and has evolved and gotten better and better for all of the Windows and other operating systems that we see today. But at a core, that is to really take the pain out of driver management on these kind of multi-use systems, particularly gold images or terminal servers, or any time that you're deploying Windows sessions and applications out to a wide variety of users. And so that virtual print driver, as we go through the talk today, just kind of keep in mind at the core, all the management and advantages that we bring to the table, really that virtual driver running in a remote desktop environment really sets the stage for what the solution can bring into your environment. We also have a scanning product. This was more recent in terms of our history, but the same way that we virtualize Windows print drivers, we have a scanning solution that'll virtualize a Twain data source on the server, and then take a client Twain or WIA scanners and connect them into the session. Now, this is not simple USB redirection, which is has a lot of issues, performance being a big one. We actually manage both sides of the connection. So the server side presents it to the application, the client side interacts with the scanner. And because we can do that over the virtual channel, we can scan it all locally, compress, send it as quickly as possible. Sometimes we see 10 times speed improvements that way, and better stability because we have control over both sides of the environment. It's almost like local to local instead of trying to do like a network or a Windows USB type of situation. And we've certainly added cross-platform capabilities too. So in this Screwdriver's client situation, we have clients for Mac OS, for laptops and desktops that are running Mac. We have Linux support, including many thin client supports. We have an iGel client that can be deployed out through their system, other Linux thin clients, or even just standalone Linux desktops. And we have mobile apps as well on iOS and Android. So really that full range of endpoints that a client might be connecting in from, and a mix of all of them can be adapted to here in this situation. One note that I want to make, again, that expertise in the engineering side of that virtual driver, we actually developed many years ago, and again, and extended this through the years of this TMF page description language. So it's not just a PDF job that's being passed around or some other format that wasn't really engineered for this type of remote desktop. This is actually a format that we developed specifically for handling spooler on the remote desktop, transmission over the line, whether it be through a virtual channel like an ICA or over TCP/IP to a print server or network printer, and then spooling it off on the other side as a local printer. We're not using Windows print sharing, and some of the problems that have come with that in terms of like instability of print server spoolers, or instability of, or even vulnerabilities that we've seen, like the print nightmare. We take all that off the table because we're handling each piece of that. And then we can even, of course, auto update the client to really help with that management aspect of the client out in the network as well. So that's that essentials piece, and we kind of add on these capabilities as we move to Pro. I already kind of started talking about print server management, but having an agent that can go on a print server and immediately read the information in from the printers on the print server, and then it's our service on there that is managing the flow of print jobs and print information to and from those printers. Yes, we're using the spooler, but only in a local capacity, not in terms of network printing. So again, like I just said, all of the kind of the traditional holdbacks of what, not having good performance or scalability or crashes of the print server, we take care of all of that through our agent running there on that print server. But we can also do server-free printing, meaning handling native drivers that get deployed out to endpoints where they need to be or into the Windows session hosts, and then delivering print jobs directly to the printer. And so we like to talk about this layered approach, which I'll come back to time and time again here, where if you have print servers, a simple agent install brings in all that information, really enhances your existing environment. If you don't have print servers, and then when I get into the demo, we'll see we can manage it that way. And so we can really handle any type of environment, or if you're trying to transition, maybe you do have print servers and are looking to move away, or they were problematic before, but you really like that idea of having that central management. And, one advantage, if you have multiple sites, you can get print servers in these locations, have compressed and encrypt data passing between the different points, and then spooling out to printers at those endpoints. Again, you have the flexibility and the freedom to architect the solution for the best performance in your environment. And we really bring all that to the table. And that's really an advantage of having these capabilities in hybrid environments. And a hybrid environment could mean local or cloud. It could mean one office or 100 offices. It could mean people working in the office or people traveling or working from home. Again, all these different situations and apps coming from different deployment methods really drive the advantages of having that flexible delivery. Screwdrivers Pro also brings to the table, user capabilities so that users can do a little bit of their own self-service. We'll demo this too, where I can now pick from a list or a map of what printers that I want to add in my session. I can pick see the printers that I have in there. And if I do a single queue print job or follow me printing, I can actually bring up that self-service app to release my print jobs to the right printer too. And finally, the last bullet point on there, we do bring print job reporting, also printer profile. So in addition to just delivering a printer to an end user, we can actually configure it so that, a certain group of users get a printer that have color printing capabilities, and another group gets black and white or certain finishing option or whatever it might be. You really have that layer of control if you want to take advantage of it as an admin. And then finally, that third tier, from Essentials to Pro to Enterprise, we get into mobile device capabilities of having that app installed on an iOS or an Android client, a hold and release print job where you can actually do that single queue or follow me or hold and release in environments that may have a need for that kind of extra layer of security, but don't have printers that have it built in. We can do that natively within our print management as well. And I do want to make a side note on actually all these tiers. We do also have what we call advanced print features, meaning I spoke of that virtual printer. And if you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, a virtual printer is more like a generic printer. Well, we actually have technologies and capability that we can display to the user the native dialogue, even using that virtual driver. And this comes into play in hold and release printing. So let's say you have, Xerox printers deployed and you want to use the checkbox that's, print to a certain mailbox or hold for a certain user, those type of features. You can use that even with the virtual driver. So we really bring the best of both worlds in these configurations. Cloud printing and system printing are two other types of environments that are becoming more common, certainly with cloud. And this is really just different ways to connect different components. So I have a Windows session and application running somewhere, maybe a cloud, maybe a data center somewhere else. But then I have a print server running in a completely different network. Basically, it's a way to proxy those or connect those so that you can get print jobs from an application running in a location like, let's say, an Azure cloud down to a local print server and manage that connectivity. And system printing being instead of user-based printing, and think about this when I show the demo in a few minutes, instead of print queues being displayed for a user, it can actually be built automatically during the system boot for times of like batch printing or SAP. We see some of those other kind of back-end systems printing that way. So that's kind of a rundown of the different tiers. Again, all within that screwdriver's umbrella, all kind of building on each other, with that core being the virtual print driver, but the different management layers being added on. And here in the next few slides, we'll kind of look at the advantages that you can gain as an admin, as a user, and then how it's deployed on the network. And we'll get into some demos here. Again, if there's any questions, please type them in. Arnaud, I don't know if we've had any come in yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so certainly if anything comes to mind, feel free to type it in there and we'd be happy to direct the conversation accordingly. All right, so kind of the why here. We've talked about the different technologies that this solution brings to the table, but ultimately in your environment, why is this important? And so there's the two sides to that, from the admin efficiency or the user productivity side of things. So let's start from the admin side. Ultimately, simple driver management. There is so much time taken on managing drivers within Gold Images and VDI, even out to remote desktops or physical desktops. In a normal Windows printing environment, you've got to have the drivers deployed in both locations, on the print server and where the session is. Or if the sessions are distributed and not centralized, you got to get the print drivers out to those endpoints. And within VDI, of course, anytime that a new print driver is updated or added, now the Gold image has to be opened, redone, closed, redeployed, all of that. And so really being able to minimize the amount that needs to be done on driver management. Under screwdrivers, it's done all in one place. So either in a print server scenario with a virtual driver, the one place you have that driver is on the print server, and then the virtual driver takes care of it everywhere else in all user sessions, wherever they might be. Or if you're not using a print server and you have direct print over the network, then you load the driver in the database. And again, that's the one place, and then it gets deployed automatically through screwdrivers out to those endpoints. So those are the two different methods that really then bring all of that driver management to one place to update, one place to deploy, a very easy way to do it. Of course, from there, okay, what print queues are delivered to the users, and having that easy provisioning of dynamic assignments, which we'll show here in a second, of a simple drag and drop mechanism to get those printers deployed to users and devices. And so we'll see in Active Directory, I can apply certain printers to users directly, to groups, to OUs, basically any layer of the AD, which describes who the user is, who I am, and what printers I'm going to get. I can also do it by device or location. And so I can assign by my device name, I can assign by the network location I am. And so one common scenario would be like a healthcare environment where I might have thin clients deployed in each room with printers nearby. And I want to make sure that when a doctor or nurse or whoever walks up and taps into that thin client and gets their VDI session, I want to automatically map a printer, because I know there's a printer right next to that client that I don't care who it is logging in. When they log in, that's the printer they get. And then they tap out and they walk down the hall and they tap into the next one. Again, we can have that printer assignment that automatically, when the session reconnects, they now have the right printer there. And how great is that for the user? I log into my session, I dynamically and intelligently have the right printer for who I am and where I am right now. I hit print, it's the right printer, go. And we'll get into that in a second with user productivity. But as an admin, being able to easily give that to the user is a huge advantage, and one where you don't have to do GPOs, you don't have to do scripts, you don't have to do other kind of computer management deployment methods, all through an interface that's database driven and an easy drag and drop UI where you can see what's going on. And really, kind of under the hood, I mentioned earlier how this is all optimized for a remote desktop environment. A user's connecting into a remote desktop. A lot of things are happening at that when log on process. We make sure that our process runs asynchronously to that. So we kick it off, we call the database, which is a very quick and efficient call. We let the login process continue. And then as they get to their application, the printer's in there, they're ready to go. Nothing's held up. It's fast and efficient for their login process, because especially when you're reconnecting and disconnecting, we want to make sure that that login process is as fast as possible. There's a lot that goes on, but for that printing piece, we're going to make it as fast as possible and efficient there.
Andrew?
Yes. Yeah.
I just have a question. It's not a question coming from anyone. It's a question I have on my own. Can we manage printers to say, for example, I want, when a user use a specific application, I want to print on a specific printer?
If the applications are siloed, you can do it based on where they're connecting to. So it's not necessarily like a tag or a metadata within the application itself. But if the app, if you have a silo of applications from a certain data center or a certain cloud app, that's how then you could then have that printer for just within that application. That would be that option.
Okay, but there will be no interaction with where the job is coming from. I mean, the idea is, for example, if I use a specific application which is data sensitive, I want only those data to be printing on the printer where I have security feature, like a code for people to retrieve their printing job.
Right. Yeah. So again, the nuance would be like if it's a published app from a certain location, because one scenario would be I'm getting apps from different locations. And so if I get my app, this particular app that needs the extra layer of security, that's where you configure the printers for those apps / like the sessions that's behind them. If it's like a desktop session where you have a variety of apps within the desktop, then it would just be the printers for that session and not individualized for the app.
Okay.
So that would be the split point there.
Okay, so in this case, yeah, the best thing here is to just have a specific server publishing the application and have only specific printers available for those applications published on this server.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
My last bullet point here on this slide is reducing help desk calls. And this is a key one. There's reports that about a third, on average, about a third of help desk calls, and I see the number between 30 and 40%, deal with printing in the average environment. And so, some of those are printer out of paper. That's not something that, our software can solve yet. But the vast number of these help desk calls are, oh, I need access to this other printer, or confusion over the number of printers they have. And so to be able to deliver a service that's reliable and consistent across these device types and platforms, the print jobs work consistently. You're not getting spooler crashes. You're not getting some of the errors traditionally found in these environments. It's a much more seamless experience, and it naturally reduces those help desk calls in many cases quite significantly, which obviously saves time and money for your admins and keeps your users productive. And we'll see later how the self-service component also helps drive help desk calls down, which is certainly what we're looking for. All right, a lot of talking to slides here. Let me walk through briefly the admin interface, just to kind of put a little bit of visuals with what we were talking through. So this is Screwdriver's administration running in an Azure desktop in the cloud. And again, this could be deployed on a desktop running in a public cloud, a private cloud, on-prem, really a wide variety of locations and the different protocols. ICA and Citrix is certainly a long-time partner with Tricerat, but certainly the other different protocols that you might be using in different environments, or sometimes a variety thereof, certainly would work as well. So this is Screwdriver's administration delivered with, earlier we were talking about those tiers, would be with Screwdriver's Pro or Enterprise. And so first we see a list here of a print server. I have a couple print servers running on other VMs here in the environment, and a list of printers. And I mentioned before, there's that print server agent that gets installed. I have the host name or IP address of that server where I installed that agent. This is our common port here. And so once I install that agent, and then I select I want a new print server and point over at that agent, that metadata is read in quickly. It takes usually just a few minutes, even if you have tens, hundreds, thousands of print queues on there. Thousands, it might take a few more minutes, but it's a relatively quick process that all that information is right in here, and you read, and you have all of the printers available to you here in the management. In the middle here, first I'll show where we have this Active Directory right now, an AAD. And so I can see from my domain level, I already have a few printers installed here, but I can also drill down to computer machines that I have in here, users, groups, OUs, basically other things available to me here in the directory. And really the beauty of Screwdriver's administration is this drag and drop approach. So if I say, hey, I want everyone in the domain, when they log in to a desktop here, I want them to get PRN 9503. I drag and drop. I'm asked one question, which is, do you want this admin assigned or user allowed or user assigned? User allowed basically just means a user can add it on their own through that self-service, where admin, this always show this printer, means a user logs in, they're going to get this printer and they can't control it. And we have quite a mix of customers that do both ways. One being, hey, I'm going to define, I'm going to, set up. So, kind of the healthcare environment's a great example. This client's always going to get this printer, period, versus environments where users might move around to different locations. They might do the user allowed. So I'm going to say, oh, I show this printer. It shows up back there. And the next login of someone coming into a computer that's joined to this domain, will get that printer. If I clear that out for a second, and let's say, well, actually, I wanted it to go to, my specific user here. I'm the only one. Actually, I already have that. So let me clear that just for this. So I want my user to get this. I'm going to drag and drop this over here. You can actually see grayed out here those are printers that obviously came from the domain. So I can see kind of a snapshot. Hey, this user is going to inherit these 4 printers. And then this printer is going to be the one directly assigned to him. And so this would be the way that you could do it to users, groups, domain, OUs, and a mix in between. Computer accounts can be applied to in here as well. I mentioned earlier about assigning the devices. So I can come over here to this network tab. And I see I can maybe create a group of like second floor and third floor. I can do network locations. And if we click in here, we can do new group, new computer, new IP address. So let's say I have, my computer is AP client 1. And I want to say every time a user connects from that device, he's going to get this printer here. That's simple. I now have assigned a printer to anyone logging in from that particular device. You can see here wildcards work. So let's say I have some iGel clients deployed out with our client installed on there, and I want to have a certain printer to anyone coming from that particular range of client names, or here like admin laptops that I know have a certain name can get those certain printers. So quite a bit of flexibility in how you might assign printers to users, to devices, to network locations.
Andrew?
Yes.
Sorry, I still have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The printer assignment, is it on logon or it's dynamic?
I'm sorry, what was the first word?
The printer assignment on the user session, is it dynamic or is it on logon or reconnection?
So it doesn't automatically show up if a session's active. So certainly a log on, log off, or a disconnect, reconnect would generate it. Also, we do have within the self-service a way to hit refresh. So if a user is logged in and something, a new deployment, that would be the way that they do it live. Yeah.
Okay. And the other question, so if I assign from the admin perspective, I assign a new printer to the user, this printer will be available for the user. So on logon or reconnection, is it something that it can be configured? What I mean, if I want, for example, printers to be assigned only on logon, but I don't want printer to be reassigned on reconnection, is it something which is configurable?
It is. You're
okay.
Putting me on the spot to find where that is, but
No. I mean, I trust you if you said that it is.
Yep, delete printers on session, disconnect, add on, reconnect. I would turn that off, and then it would only happen on, log off, and not disconnect, reconnect. So you can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing. Yeah. Obviously, we try to design this top level, and kind of like the demo I'm giving is kind of the high level. Hey, here's the basic use cases that happen all the time. But over the years, we've definitely added quite a bit. In fact, we kind of glossed over the client mapping. And here in the device and the printers, you can see those printers that were assigned to the domain and to my user earlier. So these, and in fact, if we click these, see, these are actually screwdrivers printers. So this is using our virtual print driver. This here is also screwdrivers, but this isn't from the network or the cloud. This is actually from my local client. So I have that screwdrivers client installed locally. And so that maps up too. And so all this kind of joins together. I have my local printing. I have my cloud network print server printers, my direct printers. All of this kind of merges together from the apps I'm getting, and then within those apps where I can print to here in the sessions. And so that client printing, we can control things like only doing or not adding them at all, adding them in the default. And there's quite a few other different flags and advanced settings that can be done in here as well, which we won't go through here in the demo, but there's a lot of configuration should it be needed in certain use cases. I think the last thing here from the admin side is we mentioned the without a print server. So there's actually on another server, I have an app where I can query the drivers into the database. And here I can see the ones that I've done. I've just done a few that these are now the native drivers. Basically, I take the INF and the associated files for those drivers, bring them into the database. And now I have these that I can assign. I can give a name or an IP address to a printer. I can give the driver that's going to be used, usually just a 64-bit, but if I need 32-bit drivers, that's supported in here as well. And then I can define, okay, this is the HP 1525. I assign it the exact same way. If I want to give it to the whole domain, I drag it out here. I say, always show this printer. And now that's a way that I can assign. And when a user logs in, it'll actually install from the database the native driver for that printer that's assigned and ready to go, direct printing without a print server in the environments that want to take advantage of that. So that would be the two different types of printing in here. Okay, great. We actually kind of started showing this a little bit already, but I'll highlight what kind of from the user side of things. We've talked already quite a bit about that dynamic and intelligent user session, and hopefully kind of highlighting some use cases. We talked about a hospital environment. Another vertical that we see would be like in the insurance industry, where you might have people on the road or at different small offices, and based on where they are, the client they're using that day, what printers they get, all of that happening dynamically really helps from the user side as well. And then consistency across all these different platforms. So many times now, certain apps are coming from perhaps the cloud, where others are coming on-prem, merging applications and sessions. All of that happens with printing as well. And I think kind of hit on some of this here in the app. This Screwdrivers Printers app is what we call the user-facing app. And we have one of these for Windows. We have one for Mac OS. We have one for Linux. You also can find Screwdrivers Printers in the Apple App Store and the Android Google Play Store. So in each platform, the users can do the same thing, control what printers that they have, do things like set their default printers, release jobs, or I mentioned earlier, like if I want to add a new printer and I'm at this location and, oh, I want to add this printer over here, I can see, oh, this is the printer. I can click add printer, dynamically adds into my session. If today I'm, working in this meeting room down the hall and I need to add this other printer in here, that one's already added. I can click on here, click add printer. I can see, oh, it's a Lexmark printer. It's going to add dynamically in my session, ready to go and ready to use. And one other thing I want to briefly highlight is we do have the capability I mentioned earlier about the follow me printing or the hold and release. Hold and release would be for a per printer. You can turn on hold and release, or for a single queue job, you can do a print job. Normally, if you turn on a follow me printing, that would be the one queue you have. So this is a demo environment, but if it were production where I'm doing a follow me, that would be the one printer I have. I click print, it holds, I get a notification as a user, hey, it didn't come out, it's waiting for you. And so then if I open this up, I can go to the single queue print jobs and say, oh, I have this print job that I printed here. I want to release it. And then it pops up and asks, what printer do you want it to go to? Oh, I want it to go to 3921, hit release printer, and the job will come out at that point on that print queue. And so that's a more advanced way that if you want to have that level of control for your users where they kind of have that flexibility and mobility, that's an option that we provide here in a recent version of our product. And I think the last thing I want to highlight here is really we've kind of touched on where these components go, but it really is a layered, lightweight approach to the environment. And thinking now kind of ahead to what's this look like in your environment and how can you really see the advantages? And so on Tricerat.com, we have videos that you can look through and information on there. One thing that we really like to do is set up one-on-one consultations with our sales engineers where we can really learn about what the environment is and the different ways that we can optimize the print environment and make it better. And so using these options to install the agents we require a database, a license server, and then deploying the agents out to the different locations. So the main session agent would go like on the virtual desktop or the digital workspace. If you need client printing, there's a client agent. If you're using print server printer, there's a print server agent. And so there's the applicable agent that goes on each piece. And so in a limited trial environment, it can really be installed. And in fact, while I'm talking, I recorded the video earlier of going through the install. In this case, it's really, here's a Citrix session host that I have. I'm first installing the database where I pick the cloud credentials that I'm going to install to. Click install. If this is actually an Azure database that it's installing out to, basically this is a next after the credentials for the Azure database.
And which, Andrew, which type of database are supported?
So it's Microsoft SQL Server. So on-prem, it would be any edition of SQL Server from Express to on up, and the various capabilities that SQL Server brings, or it does support the various types of Azure databases, meaning a SQL Server on an Azure VM, or the Azure SQL, which is like that, kind of the virtualized as a service type SQL database, which makes it very easy and straightforward.
Okay, and so you said every capability, so always on availability group, mirroring is supported as well. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So if you have, some of that's for redundancy, or if you have, maybe sites in different countries and you want to have different locales connecting to more localized versions, that's possible as well. Here's the optional features to install. Obviously, that session agent is the main thing, and this is a Citrix VDA where I'm putting the session agent on for printing and scanning. In this case, I installed the admin tools. Normally on a VDA, I wouldn't do that. But here for the demo purposes, I selected that where I get the administration, discovery of printing on the network, and the ability to do reporting. Down under services, there's some other things like the print server agent. If you're setting up a cloud connector, those are all things in there. And then you again put the database credentials in, and the install continues from there. So I clicked forward a few times, but this was all under 5 minutes. So getting those initial components in where I've added the connection to the database, I've added a session, an agent on a VDA, and now I can log in and I'm ready to or I can open up that admin, read printers in, and the next login can get printers installed. So oftentimes we set up about an hour consultation to kind of walk through those things. And then you have a version running on your network in a limited scope where you can actually see the advantages and start expanding out from there based on the use case that you have.
I have a question from Steven. Does it also work with Canon Uniflow Follow Me print servers printers?
It does have compatibility with that through the driver virtualization. And so basically any manufacturer printer, whether it be like a print driver for a specific print model, or a universal driver from that manufacturer, or if they have those features turned on in terms of I just need a print to kind of that single queue from screwdrivers that then sends it off back to that Canon Uniflow, we can adapt into those different workflows to work there as well. So you would still have the control over the print queues that get deployed out to the sessions and to the endpoints to make that applicable. So basically anything that has a Windows print driver, we're compatible with. And if we're not, we will immediately have an update that makes it that way. All right, we're coming up towards the end of the time. Thank you, Arnaud, and to Stephen for the question. Please, if there's anything else, you can add it in now. Again, just to kind of recap what we talked about in terms of the hybrid scenarios, be it where your workspaces and applications are delivered from, where you're working from, the connectivity in between, and then applying printing in a way that's modern, intelligent, effective and efficient to really layer onto those environments and make it a consistent experience for printing across all those different ways. We talked about the advanced print features and the different configuration options, really to have a third-party product that is configurable and flexible in this way to work in the variety of situations, not just between one customer environment to another, but each customer environment is so dynamic and usually complex to really bring some simplicity to managing printing in those environments. And then ultimately, really what we're here for is making it more efficient, more productive, a better service for our end users to really drive costs down through productivity, through efficiency, and reducing help desk calls and those type of admin approaches. So hopefully all that really came through. Again, like I said, on tricerat.com, more information on there. And really, we're always happy to talk through the different environments, because we know no matter how much we put on a website, there's always uniquenesses, and we love really engineering those kind of solutions with admins and users to make sure that it's effective for them. So great questions that we had here through the session. I'll pause here for a few minutes, and if there's any others, I'd be happy to address.
While people are thinking about that, are you interested or curious about your poll responses?
I am. I was actually clicking. While I was talking, I couldn't quickly find where to see that. So
Here, I can share it really quickly right now. Should be able to see that.
Yeah. So obviously about half driver management, and half you could pick multiple, of course, but more than half you pick driver management and print spoolers. So hopefully that came through here. What we're talking about. Print spoolers are still there in the solution. We don't eliminate them. You have to use them, but we make them stable. We keep security of the print job between hosts and between nodes of the network. And so make it scalable and stable, which is very important. And then, driver management. Again, you have to have a driver, but we can make sure that it's a single point, it's manageable, and it's easy at scale to get that out there and get it in a way that's easy and not time consuming. So yeah, great answers.
All right. Well, it looks like everybody learned a lot because they didn't have to ask a lot of questions. I think that means you did a really great job. All right. Well, go out there and get your printing under control, people. We got the people to help you right here. Thanks so much, Andrew. Appreciate you being on today. It was nice to have you back on the webinar stage.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yes. Thanks for hosting and for Arnaud. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Arnaud. It's good to have you.
No, there is a question. So from Ross, maybe I missed it, but how is licensing managed?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I see that over in the chat. Mostly by concurrent user. And so we try to kind of match, like in Citrix environment, for instance, you're paying for user seats. And so we try to match that type of environment. There is a licensed server that, of course, then handles that process for user concurrency. But certainly that's another piece that we can talk about, but that's the common way we do it. And generally subscription based in there. It's certainly, again, matching the environment that we're going into. So if it's like cloud subscription, that's usually what we match versus like an on-prem, and try to make it simple at the end of the day. And we will be at the XL in New York City, I believe. So someone just asked that. And I think sorry, I'm not the one to answer where we're attending, but we will be at some of the other CUGC events live as well.
Excellent. All right. When is the XL? It's June 21st. Definitely check out our events calendar. Let me see. I think I still have yep. Nope. Wrong link. I'll send out a link to the calendar and the email that comes out with this, and you'll be able to get to all the upcoming meetings and Excel events and webinars and all that good stuff. All right, so thanks again. I guess I'll let you all get back to your day. I hope you all have a great afternoon, evening, rest of your morning, wherever you are, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks.